Yo, what's up? My name is Severman. I'm an 18-year-old producer from Germany, and in today's video I will be showing you how I made my official remix for Somebody Loves You by Steyyx and Robbie Rosen. Let's check out the FL Studio project file. In case you don't know my remix, let me give you like a quick overview how it sounds like, just that you know what we'll be talking about.
Maybe you feel like life is crumbling to pieces. There's gonna be a time when hope fades, but trust me when I tell you it'll all change. I promise. When the world feels cold, I hope you know somebody loves you. Somebody loves you. When I stand alone, I hold you.
Yeah, so this is what it sounds like, just in case you didn't know it yet. And what's funny about this one is that I think it's like the fastest produced track or remix of mine in general. And I think it took me 7 hours or something to finish it. And I started it on a Sunday and I finished it on the same day actually. So that was pretty much the fastest production that I've ever made, I think, at least. But yeah, let's start with the breakdown and let me show you what's inside this project file, what I used to make the track, like the individual sounds and stuff. So as you can see here at the top, we have the original a cappella of the original track.
Maybe you feel like life is crumbling to pieces.
So yeah, let's start with this one. Let me show you how I processed this one. So I've routed to channel 1, and yeah, so here we have 2 EQs. With this one, I'm reducing the low mids by like 1 dB, around 300 Hertz. And I just boosted the high end a touch by like, 1.5 decibels. So it's some really fine EQing. Then we got the second one where I'm low and high cutting the vocals. So I always do the high cut at 16 kHz. And then we have the low cut at 120 Hz. And oftentimes when I listen to other tracks by like new upcoming producers, I realize that they're low cutting their vocals too high. Because especially with male vocals, you need to be careful. Because obviously like male vocals go lower than female vocals. And then we got a compressor which is actually muted. So I did not end up using the compressor, because it already sounded pretty good and balanced, as you can see. There was nothing popping out like crazy. And then I've got the P controller on here, plus the reverb, and I use these two in combination. What I'm doing here, I'm reducing the wet signal when the vocals are playing with the P controller. So it's basically automating this.
Maybe you feel like life is crumbling to pieces.
So as you can see, when the vocal stops playing, the wet signal goes up, and this just creates a cleaner sounding reverb because it doesn't like interfere too much with the dry signal of the vocals. And yeah, to give you some other information about the reverb, I low cut this one at 1K Hertz. Then usually I high cut my reverb at 10K Hertz. And then I have the decay set to 1.8 seconds. And the damping, I often turn that up in the Fruity Reverb 2 as well. Just add some more higher frequencies to it. And I really liked it in this case. Then we got a Fruity Delay 3, and I used this one in the second break only, at this part right here. So this automation clip belongs to, or is routed to, the wet signal of the delay, because we had some gaps here in the vocals at this part, and I filled these out with the delay. So without the delay, it would sound like that.
Loves you, somebody loves you.
And then with the delay on, it just fills up that gap a little bit, so it sounds like that.
Loves you, somebody loves you. Somebody loves you.
Yeah, and then as soon as the vocal starts playing again, it's being reduced again to not interfere with the vocals. And then that's pretty much it with the vocal chain, like the processing. So yeah, let's continue with the other sounds that we have in the first break. So let me show you the chords which I used in the first break. So these sound like that. I have several patterns for them, but this one is the first one. Yeah, so this is what the chords look like in the piano roll. And then for this sound, I used an organ from this plugin right here, which is a free one. And it has a really calm character, creates a really calm vibe at the beginning of the track. Like it's not too hectic, too aggressive. Now on the organ I have this stereo enhancer to widen it up some more, and that is really important to separate it from the vocals, because the vocals sit in the center of the stereo field of the track. And then we have this organ which is sitting a little wider, and this just separates both from each other. And then I use a low pass filter in order to cut away the higher frequencies of it. And also this one really helps to separate it from the vocal, because we just have the lower mids of this organ. If I will play it with the vocals or without the filter, it would sound like that.
Maybe you feel like life is crumbling to pieces.
It's not good, as you can tell. It's really interfering with each other in the mid-range. And with the filter, it just sounds way cleaner.
Maybe you feel like...
As you can tell, immediately the vocals have way more space and they're way more audible. Like, it's easier to actually understand what it's saying. Yeah, then let's check out the second pattern for the chords.
Maybe you feel like life is crumbling to pieces.
Yeah, so this one is a piano, and this one's from True Pianos. It's the first preset that opens up when you open up the plugin. So I have this one routed to channel 14, and with the piano I applied some reverb. And then we have sound codizer in order to compress the piano a little bit. And I like to use the sound codizer on my pianos because it really, I can give them some more power in my opinion, just compresses them a little more. And then we have an EQ on this one. And with this one I'm boosting the lower mids, like higher up or upper bass range a little bit, around 280 hertz. Just gives it some more body. And then we have the sidechain, but this one is for the second part of the break, I think. Then we got another pattern for the chords, and this one sounds like that. So with this one I use strings from the Flex plugin, which I really like to use. And also these really give it a calm and emotional vibe, which I was really looking for with this remix. I routed these to channel 15, and on here I again have a stereo enhancer to widen them up to separate them from the vocal, like I did with the organ. And then we have the low pass filter, which is actually automated. So as you can tell, at the beginning it's quite low, like it's quite turned down, and then yeah, kind of the further the track goes, the more it opens up. Then we have a bass line. So this one really just provides some lows to it. So if you're listening on the phone, you might not even be able to recognize it or to hear it. So this one is a bass from Spire. It's the Kung Fu preset. And this one has a really nice, deep, warm, wide character. And this one is routed to channel 20. And on here we have this EQ, which I only use on the drop, I think. Then the sidechain, which I also only use on the drop, I think. And this one is used for the second part of the break, because I have a kick in the break as well in the second part. I will be explaining that later. And then we got a fruity balance for automation, basically for the volume. And that's pretty much it actually already. So then we got some FX sounds. Another one, like impact right here. And then I'm also introducing an ARP. And then for this ARP, I used the same plugin that I had for the organ. So it's this one. And for the ARP, I use a marimba. And this one's routed to channel 21. So on the marimba, I have this EQ right here. And then we got reverb in order to, which I like to use a lot, is this type of far away reverb. Because really also have to separate it from the rest of the stuff. Because this is a sound which I didn't want to be too much in the foreground. I really just wanted to have it in the background, adding like a nice, how would you say, like a bit of detail in the background. I think that's how I can put it best. And yeah, that's it with the marimba already. So also that's it already with then the first part of the break. And then in the second part of the break, of the first break, I'm introducing the kick drum and also some other stuff. Mainly like in this part, you can definitely tell that kind of the flow is really starting to build up, like tension is going up because of the kick drum. And I really kind of wanted to push the track and give it, yeah, like the tension as we come closer to the drop. But first of all, let's talk about this vocal layer which I added. So if we listen to this one solely, this one is a like down pitched layer. Like I pitched it down by an octave. Somebody loves you when you're lost and alone. So it's very quiet also in the background. Just added some nice body to the chorus of the track and to the vocals. And then I'm also introducing the leads at this part and the melody. Somebody loves you. So I'm opening these up with a low pass filter, and this is the automation clip for it. So as you can see, it's opening up. And then right here, we have the drop, but I'll be talking about that later after this part. So I'm also going to be explaining the leads later. Then we have the chords again. So at this point I'm using another piano, and also I'm with the chords, I'm using the rhythm of the melody also to kind of build the tension and to push the track and to give it more rhythm. So as you can see, it's not just the long sustained notes, now they have the rhythm of the melody. And for this piano, which one did I use? Also two pianos. It's this preset right here, the Amber White preset. And this one is routed to channel 4. And here we have this EQing, like this low cut at 80 Hz with this one. And I also rolled off the bass a little bit. And then again the high cut at 16 kHz. stereo enhancer to widen it up, low pass filter to, am I actually opening it up? Yeah. So I'm opening up the low pass filter of the piano with this automation for the leads. So it's also fully open then at the drop. And yeah, then the sidechain for the drop with this one. Then we got this one right here, this pattern. So these are like drop chords, the drop saw chords. And yeah, I'm opening these up with a low pass filter as well. For the chords, I used a Spire and a Nexus. But I will also show these at the drop then. Then we got another pattern for the chords. Yeah, these are actually the strings that I already showed you before. But now I added some more notes to the chords, I think. Yeah, I added like 2 more notes of each chord at this part. Just gives it some more energy, some more emotion to the vibe. And yeah, so they're also sidechain at this part. Then also having this ambience voice monster type of sound, which I'm using in the drop as well. Then I'm introducing the bass line of the drop as well. But I will also show this one at the drop when it's fully open. Then we have this ARP. So for this ARP I used this Spire preset. +1, it's a plug. And then we have the kick drum, which I'm using in the break right here. So it's like some sort of acoustic kick drum, I would say. And we got some more drums. And then also some more FX sounds that I added. Then the snares in the build-up. Yeah, then I think I have a sub drop with this pattern. It's actually a sub riser. And then I have, what is this? Piano. And then I added another ambience voice kind of sound. Some more uplifters and FX sounds. And the ARP. And this is then it with the break and the build up already. So yeah, we're at the drop now. Let's check out the probably the most important part. So let's start with the leads. So these solo leads sound like that. So for the leads I use a lot of Nexus sounds, as you can see. So we got this one, Jesse guitar. Well, let me show you the individual layers. when it comes to lead layering, it's always a bit hard to explain it because I'm that type of guy who just searches for the right presets until it sounds really cool. So that's also what I did in this remix. So yeah, let me check what I did to the processing of these sounds for leads. So as you can see, I routed some of them to channel 2 and then these 3 to channel 3. And I did that because I wanted to have separate control over these 3 ones. Because what I did here with these, I really wind them up with this knob right here, and then I routed them also to channel 2. So channel 2 is basically the lead bus channel. So we have low and high cut in this one again. At 16 kHz, the high cut, like I always do. And the leads are low cut at 220 Hz, 220 Hz. Then a second EQ. So this looks quite savage right here. I'm boosting the highs a bit, then I reduced this like certain frequency because I felt like it was resonating a bit or it didn't sound that nice. Then I boosted the 1.3 kHz a bit. Then again I reduced the 760 Hz and the 600 Hz a little bit to clean them up a bit. Then again I'm using the P controller with the reverb to duck the wet signal, as I already showed you with the vocals. And yeah, here on the reverb, I'm having the low cut at 800 Hz, high cut again at 10 kHz with the reverb. Then the decay time is 3.5 seconds, so it's quite a lot, but it creates a nice fade out when the leads stop playing. So if we check it again, really creates that nice tail, and without it, it would sound like that. They just disappear instantly. Yeah, then we have this low pass filter for automation. So that's what I'm basically doing in the middle of the drop and also at the end to fade them out. Then yeah, the last effect is the sidechain. So I'm using the Nickelback kickstart, and then that's it with the processing of the leads already. And then again, we got the piano that I already showed you before. Then we're having the saw chords, like the main drop chords. So these look like that in the piano roll, if you want to check it out. And then for the sounds again, I use this Spire preset, it's called Lead Introduce. And then the Square lead from Nexus, the first one. Then these are routed to channel 5 and 6. So on the Square lead, I'm having the stereo enhancer to widen it up. But then the Square preset is routed to the other channel as well, that the Spire preset is routed to. And on here we have this EQ, so low and high cut again, and I'm also rolling both sides off a bit to kind of have some more mids, if that makes sense. And then a low pass filter for automation, like with the leads. And then we got the sidechain. And then again we got this voice monster ambient sound. It's already sounding really nice. Then let's check out the bass line that I have in the drop. So for the bass line, I separated into 2 patterns. This one is for the mid basses, and for the mid basses I use 2 different sounds. This one sounds like that. Talkbox bass sound from Spire. And then we got another sound from Silent One. This one is like a wide saw sound. And then this one is the sub bass. And as you might be able to tell, with the sub bass, I took out this part right here and also like the end of it, because first of all, at this part right here, I just wanted to take out the sub in order to create like some contrast and in order to kind of have the second half of the drop hit harder again. And then the reason for this gap in here is a snare that I used, because this one also has a sub drop included. So I'm just making space with this gap for the snare that I used. But now let's check out how I process the bass line. So the mid basses are going to channel 7. And on here we have this EQ. So I have the low cut set at 80 Hz with the mid basses. Then we got a low pass filter for also like the same automation that I have applied to the leads and the chords. And then we got a high pass filter also for automation, and I'm using this one in the build up before the drop to take out the lows of it, and this also makes the drop hit harder. So as you can see, like it's this automation right here for the high pass filter. And then last but not least, the sidechain. Then let's check out the processing of the sub bass. So sub bass is going to channel 8. On here it's literally just the sidechain. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Then let's continue. So we got this ARP again, which I already showed you. Then we got like the Severman signature kick drum. And then we got like the FX sounds and like auto drums. So first of all, these sounds add a lot of high end to the drop, which gives it a lot of energy. And second of all, these sounds also help to glue everything together. Then again, we got this snare sound, snare sub drop sound that I already showed you. But I layered this one with 2 more sounds with this clap. And then this second clap. Then we have a ride and another ride. So this first ride is following the rhythm of the kick drum. And then the second one is following the rhythm of the melody. And then I added some sort of toms or like a percussion sound. And then I added these fill sounds. I think they added a really nice, somewhat unique touch to the drop, in my opinion. Then again, this second voice ambient sound. And then that's it with like the first half. Then in the second half of the drop, I'm adding this sound. So this is just a basic hi-hat, nothing special. I'm also adding this uplifter, as well as this ambience piano. So this piano is the Nexus Arena ambience piano, and then that is pretty much it with the drop already. I only added these 2 more sounds right here, so these are claps. So let's check out the second break.
Maybe you're running on empty, longing for purpose. Maybe you question if every tomorrow is worth it. There's gonna be a time when hope fades, but trust me when I tell you it'll all change. I promise I'll be by your side always. When the world feels...
So there aren't any major differences compared to the first break, but some differences that are in the second break is that, for example, I'm using the kick drum of the break already in the beginning of the second break, and then I'm dropping it out later. And in the first break, if you remember it correctly, I at the beginning didn't use the kick and then introduce it before the drop. So in the second break, I'm doing sort of the opposite, but again, we have the vocal at the top and the chords, like in the first break.
Maybe you're running on empty, longing for purpose. Maybe you...
Now we got the kick drum.
Maybe you're running on empty, longing for purpose. Maybe...
Yeah, basically like the other sounds already, as in the first break that I already showed you. So there's no point in going through everything again now. But what I also added to this part are these strings. So these are the staccato strings from Steyyx, and I tend to do this a lot in my tracks, adding staccato strings in like the rhythm of the kick drum to the second break. Just adds a nice variation to the track. And this one is going to the same channel that the other strings are routed to, so I already showed these effects. Then yeah, at the second half of this break part, I'm adding more drums to it. I'm adding these.
I'll be by your side always.
Now I'm dropping out the kick drum.
When the world feels cold, I hope you know somebody loves you. Somebody loves you. When you're lost and alone, I hope you know somebody loves you. Somebody loves you.
And at this point, taking out the drums, I felt like made it more emotional, kind of slowing the track down again, and then actually building it up again. And then at this part, I'm again also introducing the stuff from the drop, so like the chords from the drop and the melody also then later. On the following 8 bars, I'm having more of a unique part again, because we didn't have this one in the beginning, because the vocals are a little bit different at this part. And yeah, just check this one out.
Somebody loves you. Somebody loves you.
So it's probably the most emotional part of this track, if it's not the drop. And then after that, we're again introducing the snares and the uplifters that I already showed you. And we're opening up the low pass filters of the sounds of the drop, of the leads, the chords, etc. And yeah, we're basically going to the second drop.
Somebody loves you. 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 Somebody loves you.
So yeah, that's pretty much it with this remix. Like there are no new sounds added. The second drop is basically the same as the first one. Maybe let's talk about the mastering, because that's something that like people tend to ask. So this is the mastering chain. The first effect is the endless smile, and with this one I'm using it in the build-up to kind of make the track more washed out in the build-up, and this also helps to make the drop hit harder a bit. So it's this automation right here, as you can see, just opening up a little bit and then closing down right before the drop. Then I'm also having a volume automation before the drop, which goes down. So I'm lowering the not the vocals, the volume a little bit. It also helps to make the drop a bit more powerful. So it's a fruity balance that I used for the volume automation. Then we got an EQ for the low and the high cut. So also on the master I high cut at 16 kHz, and then I have a low cut at 20 Hz. And then, as you might know from my other making ofs, I like to use sausage fetiner as a limiter for my tracks, because I usually I slap it on the master and I just leave it like that. I don't need to adjust any knobs, because what it does, it automatically limits the signal that comes through it at, I think it's minus 0.1 decibels. Then we got this EQ. I didn't use this one. I just have this on the master often in order to check the low end. So when I turn this one on, I'm able to only check the low end. It's something that I personally do. So this one is not actually affecting the master. And then we have span. So this one isn't affecting the master either. It's just an analyzer which I use for mixing. So this shows you the frequency response of your track. Really comes in handy to like double check your mix. But that's it with the mastering, and that's it with this making of. So yeah, I hope you liked this little making of video of my Somebody Loves You remix for Ensis Records. Make sure to follow their socials, make sure to follow my socials, and have a nice day. Bye.